Fake game videos are one of the most interesting phenomena to emerge on YouTube and the internet in general. Intricate, spooky-dooky stories spanning literal years, centered around completely fabricated games. Well, I was done simply watching these and instead aimed to play them. Today, I'm going to beat and complete games that don't exist. I'll be checking out a variety of fake game projects, tracking down and beating any playable version I can get my grubby little mitts on. Throw in some thematic and story analysis, as well as general reviews, and you've got the idea. This is part 2, so I'd recommend giving the previous installment a watch beforehand. You don't have to, but you should. Let's get started. Our first project released in the roaring 20s, Catastrophe Crow, also known as Crow 64. This is the series which carried the fake game genre's torch after Petscop's 2-year run of complete and utter domination came to an end. And this one does a lot of similar things. A large, interwoven narrative with all kinds of secrets and plot points to speculate on, while also distinctly setting itself apart by including a lot more ARG aspects. I'll say now that while I do enjoy this one overall, good production, a fun storyline, decent length, it's a series which I'm also fairly conflicted about. I really want to love it, but I just can't. That is getting way ahead of things though. What even is Catastrophe Crow? This whole dang thing started in October of 2020, with YouTuber Adam Butcher releasing the video, What Happened to Crow 64. The video here presents itself not as a fake Let's Play or a fake walkthrough, but rather as a YouTube game review and retrospective going over an old unreleased N64 game that no one else has ever covered on YouTube. A lost media game. It's in the same style and presentation that a lot of channels used back in the 2010s, going over these kinds of obscure games. Really, it can be traced back to stuff like AVGN, although this is less of a review and more of a story detailing the troubled development history of the game, followed by showing off some gameplay. One noteworthy thing about this one is that it isn't on some fake channel by a fictional person, like with Petscop and Paul. Adam Butcher has been around on YouTube for nearly 20 years at this point. He's not super active, but he's had some success previous to the series, with Crow 64 not even being his biggest video until fairly recently. Although, if you're going by overall impact and view counts, yeah, it's no contest. This first video, What Happened to Crow 64, is actually the only main video in this entire series, despite there being about 24 videos related to the game in total. Let's quickly go over it, and then we can move on to the game itself. Gaming. The main video in the Catastrophe Crow series has Adam Butcher tell the story of how he found out about and proceeded to acquire a copy of the game. It was a cancelled N64 game, which had an incredibly troubled development, with years of dev time and over $10 million spent on the project. Despite that, it never managed to see the light of day, and the company behind it went bankrupt. The game itself was headed by a man named Manfred Lorenz, a veteran game designer, perfectionist, avid sailor. He's a big fan of boats, and a central figure in the story. The concept of the game came from some drawings his daughter made of this crow getting struck by lightning. Quite a catastrophe. As the game sunk further into development hell, Manfred ended up progressively sinking into insanity, going a bit cuckoo. His home life went to shit, he pushed everyone away, and when the debt collectors showed up to the office, he was nowhere to be found. In fact, nothing was found at the office. No servers, no copies of the game, nothing. Nada. Zilch. Shortly after this, his boat was found a few miles offshore, with nothing but a final note left to his wife on board. It seemed that he, along with the drives containing any copies of the game, had gone overboard. Adam Butcher originally found out about all this through some old gaming magazines, and ended up doing a ton of research on it, finding a handful of old Space World presentations, interviews, and reviews from back in the day. Soon after, he hit up eBay in the hopes that maybe he'd be able to snag a development copy, and lo and behold, one happened to pop up just as he was making the video. He bought it for €11, and got right into it. Before we continue, I want to quickly shout out today's sponsor, Boot.dev. Doing this project has given me a genuine interest in how these kinds of games are made, and this was literally the perfect opportunity to find out. Boot.dev is a website where you can learn all about programming in an RPG style, with quests, loot, and even magical spells. The site's got a whole bunch of lessons, which you're given rewards for completing, resulting in sweet dopamine boosts to your ever-expanding programmer's brain. And of course, this goes beyond just games, as coding ability is a very useful tool which can easily lead into an actual career. I'll be honest, I had literally zero experience in programming before this, and going through the lessons here has given me a genuine interest in continuing. It is not as difficult as I imagined, and was actually quite fun, to my surprise. Be sure to check out boot.dev, where you can use code REDLINE for 25% off your first entire year of your programming journey. And if it's not for you, there's even a 30-day, no questions asked refund policy. The game itself is shown DSP style, having Adam record his TV with a camera rather than using a capture card for this incredibly rare, never-before-seen piece of lost media. The game is basically just Mario 64, but worse, and with less shit to do. You play as world-famous Catastrophe Crow character, Crow, and do all kinds of jumps, leaps, and hops, all while collecting coins along the way. And instead of Peach's castle, it's a big office building, just called Wyke. The first few minutes of this are fairly normal, starting off with a level based on children's playthings. However, after a wall jump up to a secret area, Adam finds quite a strange sight. A crow furiously typing away at a computer with a sailboat off in the distance. I wonder what this could be representative of. And from this point forward, everything begins unraveling, and any notion of this being a real lost game is completely thrown out the window. It's worth noting that Adam was doing some light commentary in the beginning, but within just a few minutes, entirely stops talking, as he claims he isn't very good at live voiceover. It's a bit of a shame, as projects like Petscop have shown that having a narrator react to stuff in real time can really add to stories like these.
That's a dead kid.
The rest of the video is mostly creepy events and in-game representations of Manfred's real-life struggles, both professional and personal. The game essentially plays out the last few years of his life, including his final moments. It also somewhat reveals the reason as to why he went crazy, that being that his daughter fell ill or was gravely injured, which completely broke him. During the video, a house has been continuously popping into frame, and the game ends off with Adam walking through it, only to find a crow, which represents Manfred's daughter, in an upstairs bedroom. It's completely mangled, headless, and hooked up to some kind of life support machine, eventually being whisked away by a mysterious figure after the room floods with water. And that's the main video in the Catastrophe Crow series. I skipped over a lot of shit, but it's presented in a way where I'd basically just be saying exactly what was said there, if I were to properly recap it. Everything here is super well done and excellently produced. The initial 5 minutes, where he's breaking down the game and treating it as if it were a real lost game that he hunted down, is phenomenal, and one of my favorite parts of any fake game series. It's got physical props, very well done edits, showing off Crow 64 being played back in the 90s, and the magazine articles made for it look straight out of the era. It is fantastic, and if it wasn't shown off as clearly a horror project just a few minutes after this, he could have fooled a shitload of people into believing it was real. The gameplay part is also well done, but I feel that it does get a bit too spooky a bit too quickly. There's no real time to breathe, as within just the first level, it turns into a spooky evil game. Honestly, when broken down into just its story, this one as a whole kinda does feel like a mediocre classic gaming creepypasta. It goes from normal N64 game with a tragic backstory to evil screwed up blood, hyper-realistic scary death game within about 3 minutes. It just doesn't have the necessary build-up it needs, in my opinion. It's still a very well-made project though, and I especially like what this one does with audio. While Adam, not talking after a bit, is mildly disappointing, it also does add a creepier vibe to the latter half, as you no longer have a jolly British man leading you through the experience. There's nothing but footsteps and the in-game sound effects, which were typically phones ring-a-dinging, clocks ticking and talking, and the game world utterly breaking down. Now, you might be wondering why I said I was divided on this series, as based on this, it sounds like I kinda loved it. Well, it's actually quite simple. As briefly mentioned earlier, Crow 64 does not end here. It absolutely does not. I was watching a chronological viewing order playlist, and beyond this point, there were dozens of videos to go through, none of which were on Adam Butcher's channel. Yep, we've got ourselves a proper ARG. Now, I won't be spending a shitload of time on this, as, well, I'm just going to come right out and say it, right here, right now, right up front. No delays, none whatsoever, not a single one. I do not really give a shit about ARGs. At least not ones that are super heavy on puzzle solving and deciphering shit in order to fully understand a story. I can totally get behind a good ARG where it's mostly extra info and videos connected to a primary story. Anything where you start getting into spectrogram, Morse code, Cicada 3301 bullshit, I'm out. I'm sorry. It's just not my thing. What do you want from me? And in case you want to know how deep Catastrophe Crow goes, take a look at this community-made info recap. Yeah. If you want everything explained, go watch Game Theory or something. This isn't that kind of video. The remaining videos in the Crow 64 series are hosted across a number of different channels. If there's one thing I'll give credit to, it's the amount of time and effort that has gone into this one. These channels were all made years in advance, most of which aim to pose as classic retro gamer type channels, each having other videos of old obscure N64 games. A real long con series this was. With that said, these mostly play out exactly the same and do get a little repetitive. Each of these begin with about 30 seconds of normal gameplay, followed by the discovery of a weird, creepy, evil secret area or event not shown in the original video. After that, they just end. Most of these secondary videos house various clues and even secreter secrets within them, most of which need to be decoded or deciphered. Each one is a different puzzle piece made up of even more puzzle pieces. Just to give one specific example here, during this one, as the crow was picking up coins, seemingly random sound effects were playing. Well, a later video has the player jumping on a big keyboard with each letter playing a specific sound effect. Cross-referencing the two, you can use the coin sound effects to spell out a message. That's probably really cool for people into solving ARGs. Honestly, it kind of is cool, even to me, but it's where I lost all hope about being able to solve or even understand the series purely by watching along and paying careful attention. And that's just one example. Other videos are equally, if not more, obtuse. To kind of wrap things up here, I've got to say that despite how much shit there is going on in the back end, it's not actually that complicated of a story. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot to it, but, you know, father loses himself in his work after a tragic loss isn't exactly a super groundbreaking plot. Honestly, one of my biggest issues with the ARG stuff is that I don't think the underlying story here really warrants this much secondary info. It's a premise that sounds like it could be a novel from 1890. Something like, "Machine brings back the soul of a grieving father's deceased daughter." I will say that there is a lot of good thematic stuff in here, but that is where my other biggest issue lies. A lot of the themes and deeper messages literally need to be decoded, and that's before any decoding of what they mean in the context of the story. This is one that, while I enjoy it, obviously just isn't for me. But for a lot of people, this kind of stuff will be exactly what they're looking for in a series like this. I did enjoy watching it quite a bit, and didn't feel like my time was wasted or anything, but as for trying to understand the puzzles and story beyond the first episode, I gave up on that real quick. But, obviously, we're not done just yet, as we still have a game to play. Just over 3 years after the series seemingly concluded, and shortly after a marketable plush campaign, Adam Butcher returned to Crow 64, releasing a playable version on itch.io. And this isn't just a playable remake of what's seen in the videos, but rather a full-on expansion and continuation of the ongoing narrative. If you want the full story of Crow 64, you need to play this. And it's big too. This game is chock full of Easter eggs, secrets, and hidden levels. Let's check it out. When I said this was full of secrets about 3 seconds ago, I meant that shit. Within under a minute, I was already finding hidden areas like the famous Crow 64 wishing well. That's some lore right there. Welcome to work. We do like fucking jobs and shit. We do like business. Did I find a secret already? Hold on, you see that shit? Hold on a minute here. Secret revealed. Secret fucking revealed. Holy shit. Holy smokes. The famous well? The wishing well? Right? I don't know what this does. But if you think about it, like thematically, like it's like a wishing well, you know? Like he's wishing for his daughter back, you know? It's like thematic and shit. He's got like the wishing well. Secret. Secret revealed. Also, before stepping foot into a single level, I managed to clip the camera through the wall where I saw an evil maze hidden just beyond my reach. Call me the fucking master of secrets, because I found the secret evil backroom switch near instantly. Call me the smartest guy on earth. That's gonna open the back rooms. Evil! What the hell? That actually kind of fucking freaked me out, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know this game had scary enemies. After the sweet embrace of death, I was stuck in a foggy forest for quite a while. Within the forest, I found another wishing well, and I wished that it would take me out of this hell. Well, I jumped into the well and got sent to Super Hell. This was a maze-like sewage system or something, but with blood instead of pee and poo. At the end of it, there was a big heart being milked for all of its crimson fluid. Back at the office. Are we in the back rooms? No. It's not fucking happening again, pal. I quit mucking around at this point and finally entered the first main level. It was mostly the same as what was shown in the videos, aside from having these night enemies who will chase you down to the end of the earth. They seriously don't have any kind of safe zone and will never stop following you. There's no way to kill them, and it's a one-hit kill on your end. So, they're not the most fun enemy in the world. I followed a secret path to a secret area beneath the level and came across another evil backrooms monster. Awesome. Cool. I returned to the backrooms and spent about 20 minutes trying to get through it while being pursued by the evil entity. It started off as quite a fun challenge, having you stay within these salt circles to drive it off, but its respawn time was like 1 second. So, you could make about 5 feet of progress every minute. Also, this was likely in development way before its complete oversaturation, but like, why does this have the backrooms? It's not one-to-one the exact same thing, but it totally is the same thing. I did manage to make it to the end, which was just the dev guy's boat again. You hop on board, and it spawns you in his office with a boat instead of his desk. We definitely needed more boat lore confirming this was indeed his boat. We're pretty far into this, so it's time to discuss the actual gameplay of the game. It's a solid okay, certainly playable, but for a platformer, it's not great. The problem here is that they can't really change it all too much without retconning the original videos. Those have a moveset and style which the game has to adhere to, even if it doesn't play the best. Once you get used to it, it's fine, but there was a couple areas that were major pains in my ass. Secret. Secret. A secret has been revealed. This one was a desert level, and was actually really interesting, and I like it quite a lot. It has you follow a scarecrow through a sandstorm. If you get lost, you're warped right back to the start. It's a lot like the Lost Woods in Breath of the Wild. My favorite part about this one is the constant sound of the sandstorm's grainy gusts. There's no music at all in the level, only this. It makes for a very tense atmosphere, with it feeling like one of the times you approach the silhouette of the scarecrow, it may be something else lurking in the storm. While I was back in the hub, I found a secret computer room, which was definitely going to be used to enter secret codes. By complete random chance, I actually managed to find one by putting in BTDG, which drastically changed the game. What the hell? My game's all screwed up. Oh, whoa, yep. From this point, I was in full-on walkthrough mode, as the requirements to enter each level just became unreasonably ridiculous. The next one required me to stand in a specific spot, exit the game, head to a different specific spot, exit the game there, and then finally, you'd spawn into a glitchy version of the overworld, where upon entry to the office building, it was now a hospital. This is one of the easier secret levels to find, by the way. The hospital level was quite eerie though. A complete tonal shift from the other parts of the game, which were either normal N64 platforming levels or spooky evil backrooms shit. Here, there were no enemies and no platforming, just the sounds of labored breathing from behind curtained-off patients. Heading down the main hallway led you to a crow standing over a smaller crow in a hospital bed, crying its eyes out. The level serves as a pretty solid confirmation that the bandaged crow is the developer's daughter, and that she suffered some kind of injury, leaving her here at the hospital. If more of the story was told like this, with different plot elements being essentially confirmed through exploration and gameplay, I'd probably like this one a lot more. Unfortunately, the game primarily expands the lore outwards, rather than giving resolutions to already existing plot threads. The next level I did was one that recreates the final scene of the original video, the house level. This one required you to press one specific key on the secret keyboard, followed by setting your computer's clock to exactly 9:13 p.m. You then have to enter and exit the office building, and when you come out, it'll be night, with the house at the end of the road. Who the fuck found this shit? It plays out exactly as it does in the video, but with a weird, self-replicating, cat-looking thing on the inside. I have no idea what the meaning of this is, but it begins to rapidly multiply and is the loudest thing in the entire game by far. After this, I was mainly just speedrunning the weird shit checklist. I don't know when this happened or why, but every window in the office building now had these strange men busting out of them. I also found the upper area in the first level shown off in Adam Butcher's original video, which now had an army of teddy bears sitting at computers. Hitting the pause button changes their screen to a still of Adam Butcher's YouTube video, which is a whole can of worms, even if you are paying attention to the story. After this was the marketable plushie world. They made an entire world in the game, centered around the plushies they were selling in real life. It's mainly just a platformer level, showing how the plushies are made, which of course ends with them being ejected from a spaceship down to Earth. What is Crow 64 even about? My favorite level in the game was the deleted memory world. This one is accessed by entering a debug menu where you delete the memory of your game. This ends up being a sort of literal thing, as it takes you to a weird warped world, all of which was in first person. It's filled with distorted family photos which are completely devoid of anyone, like the memories of these people have just been wiped from existence. Just the concept of this area is super interesting to me, that being the exploration of warped, forgotten, and distorted memories. And I think this could easily be fleshed out into its own entire solo project. It's completely unlike anything else in the game or series. I attempted to access the ending after this, which is activated by inputting like 100 letters in a row into the keyboard, not messing up a single time. I messed up a single time and did not try again. I then continued to watch the walkthrough I was using, only to see that you can just use your actual keyboard to type in the code, so all of that was entirely a waste of time. The ending itself is just a cutscene though, not a level or anything, and it's alright. But with that, I have officially beaten Catastrophe Crow. Catastrophe Crow kinda feels like it was built as a puzzle to be solved first and a story second. The same thing goes for the game, where it feels like they came up with all kinds of batshit crazy ways to enter levels and find secrets, and then tried to make it work as a playable game. It's still a fun series, but again, definitely one I'm conflicted on. While I don't enjoy any of the puzzle aspects, I really do enjoy almost everything else about this, especially its production. And if it wasn't such a puzzle-heavy ARG, it would likely be one of my favorites. I have a lot of issues with it, but they're mostly personal taste, while some are legitimate grievances. I'm not really a fan of how, MatPat is going to enjoy this. The story is, with its numerous codes, ciphers, and puzzles. Unlike a series such as Petscop, where you can get a lot of the story by just connecting a bunch of dots that are scattered throughout the series, this one basically requires a team of code breakers working on it in order to solve it. It's like this was a story built to be experienced through tubers doing Crow64 explained videos. And that is how the vast majority of people watch this one, based on the massive numbers that theory and explanation videos get on it compared to the originals. Beyond that though, I mean, the story really isn't all too different from the one Adam tells in the first few minutes of his video. The only other important thing you learn is that his daughter was either ill or had a major injury. Other than that, you've basically got the main idea. Guy goes crazy working on a game and drowns himself in his work, and then literally drowns himself. The ARG stuff in the videos just give you the reason why he went crazy. I definitely have to be missing something with this story, because there's no way it's that simple, considering how complex literally everything else about it is. Apparently, the game's continuation of the story convolutes things even further, with the developer's son having taken over to continue his father's work. I've actually heard fairly mixed things about the lore the game adds, which kinda sucks. But that is Catastrophe Crow. I didn't cover everything, but as I've gone over many times, I do not care about the ARG stuff. It's a solid series even without that, which I do like and would recommend, especially if you enjoy super ARG heavy stories. I think I'm an outlier in not liking them, so chances are that most of you will get a kick out of Crow64's greater narrative. It just wasn't for me. We are now on one of the most biggest, massivest, hugest series out there, and it's by international superstar, multi-$100 million grossing A24 film director Kane Pixels. I really don't like this one very much. Negative Nancy way to start things off, I know, but I would like to go over why. After the massive success of his Backroom series, as well as other projects such as The Oldest View, Kane began work on a new series titled People Still Live Here. This is a fully original project, and as you'd imagine, takes the form of a fake game. As of now though, only 2 videos in the series actually showcase the game, with the others being secondary, smaller videos outside of it. Let's not delay any further, and just get things started. This first video is a freaky beaky one, which itself has nothing to do with games. It's a few close-up shots of a doll, an old man, in the sky. There's some Morse code at the end, but that's all I've really got to say. The first actual video in the series is a fairly long playthrough of the titular game. It's recorded a lot like Sad Satan was, with zero narration, either in speech or subtitles. Getting into things, it looks kind of like a jank 90s game, very similar to stuff like Jurassic Park Trespasser. The title states that it's from 2005 though, so I don't know what's going on with it. Half-Life 2 was out by this point. It feels less like a 2005 game and more like a game you'd see in the new tab of itch.io that says it's from 2005. To be fair, it does say that this is version 8.3, so it's up in the air how long this has actually been around. The goal of the game is to collect 3 objects before sundown and return home. You're placed into a very expansive Windows XP Bliss background world, which has scattered waypoints and locations to check for items and clues. The atmosphere in the series is decent, with nothing but the wind to keep you company throughout the journey. And it is a long journey, which, let's just break the ice here, is without a doubt my biggest issue with the series. It is dragged out, and honestly feels like it's trying too hard to build tension by just having long-ass sections of nothing at all happening. It borders on parody. A good 60% of these gameplay videos, at least it feels like this, is spent walking from one location to another. The pacing here is genuinely abysmal. In this first episode, it all builds up to this little sign guy zipping and zooping around the screen, but this is just more funny to me than scary. The player reaches the final location, which has the first NPC in some kind of server room, who mentions digging around people's memories, likely a hint towards what's to come story-wise. Within the room is also the day's final item. After grabbing it and heading back outside, the NPC from earlier greets the player from the other side of a fence and asks them to keep their little meeting a secret.
I don't want people to think I'm spying on their thoughts. I wouldn't do that. It is important to respect.
This is a comedy series. What do you want me to say? The sun begins to set, meaning the player has to get home now. As they're headed back, the evil sign from earlier is hot on their trail. They barely manage to escape and complete day 1. To be brutally honest here, this first episode is a complete slog for most of its runtime. It's obviously intentional, but I don't think it had the desired effect of building tension. Instead, building boredom, which is the last thing you want in a horror series. And this isn't some, zoomer brain attention span either. I sat through all 24 parts of Petscop and was entranced the entire time. And Kane's other series are similarly slow burns, but are rife with tension. I could barely make it through this first episode of People Still Live Here. It doesn't even have any cool or creepy visuals to complement either. Shit is just GM Flatgrass played on a Dell Inspiron for as far as the eye can see. The story also doesn't really seem to be too interesting, if it's going where I think it is. That being people uploaded and trapped within the game, as that's the plot of like 19 different shows, movies, and books. I really don't want this to be taken as blind hatred of Kane Pixels because he's the talk of the town right now with the Backrooms movie making a backroom $1 million. This video was in production months before that was even released, and I typically do like his videos. The Oldest View is great, Backrooms is solid, and during my initial notes when collecting all these videos, I even took a note saying that I was very excited to watch this one. I literally have it in my pre-notes that he's a, quote, master at building tension. I just think that this one specifically was a miss, and that's fine, just disappointing. This is a very short video, which features a realistic view of People Still Live Here's world, in a style more similar to his other works, a handheld camera perspective in a Blender render landscape. I assume that most people thought this was a part of his Backroom series, as this has like double the views the last episode has. The only thing I really have to say about this one is the evil sign things are not scary. Stop trying to make these work. As a bit of analysis, a bit of speculation, my only thought for why this is even in the series is that maybe when you get snagged by the evil scary sign in-game, you get taken to this dimension in real life or something. I don't know. Unfortunately, I assume the first episode was glazed to shit in the comments because the second one plays out mostly the same and has all the same pacing issues. This is one of the notes I took while watching the second episode, I'm not kidding. Day 2 has the same goal of finding 3 items, with this one having a few more NPCs to interact with, at least. Day 2 also features some changes to the world map, with brand new areas popping up. Because of this, while the pacing is still bad, there's still a lot of walking. This one is an improvement over the first in a lot of ways. Nothing much happens in this one until the player enters a basement sewer area, which they decide to venture into for some reason. They tread down a dark waterway, hear a scary noise, and make a beeline for the exit. The sun was setting by this point, and they had a long way to go to get back home, and only 2 out of 3 items. At about the halfway point, a pop-up appears on screen, reading, "The Shepherd is coming." A very large figure appears in the distance, with creepy tunes in tow. Again, they barely make it home, just before being caught in the Shepherd's iron grip. The biggest issue with People Still Live Here after these 2 episodes, aside from the pacing, is that we don't have any sort of main character to follow at all. We watch the POV of whoever's playing, but, what are the stakes here? If they die or lose, who gives a shit? It's a weird video game from 2005. Just restart the level or stop playing. It doesn't matter, at least to our knowledge. There's no narration, no Let's Play type voiceover, no annotations or text or anything. What am I supposed to be getting invested in? The story of these random NPCs who talk funny? By the end of this episode, we're like 40 minutes into the series, and aside from some vague hints in-game that something weird is happening, there's like no hook to this series at all. Why should I care about any of what's happening here? Anyways, whoever was playing this has no idea how to play Minesweeper. Like, they were just clicking shit randomly. awful gameplay really teed me off as a certified Minesweeper enjoyer. The current final episode of the series, because he was busy making a multi-$100 million grossing movie, was another short Blender render landscape, this time with a train noise playing in the distance. That's it. It is 18 seconds long. This has more views than either of the gameplay episodes, by the way. I've said pretty much all my criticisms already, so I won't repeat myself, but hopefully I got across why I'm not a fan of the series, and it was all fair. And if you disagree with me, that's completely fine. Normally, I would try to balance this with things I did like, but in this case, I am genuinely at a loss, for the most part, in terms of shit I enjoyed. The shepherd is coming part is kind of scary, I guess, in the same way that any other big monster is chasing you scene is. Tense music and a scary guy coming after you. Wow. That exact kind of scene has been done better elsewhere in real games. This is also a smaller thing that kinda disappointed me, but don't necessarily take it as a criticism. I kinda wish this fully committed to the whole fake game thing, rather than also tying in the Kane Pixels realistic shaky cam Blender render stuff. I've already gone over how that does likely tie into the story, but I don't know. It feels like he's kind of falling back on what works for him in a meta sense, and it does work. As mentioned previously, those ones have more views than the gameplay videos combined. That's just speculation though, and really, we'll have to see. If those have some kind of big payoff, then I'm completely fine with them. In terms of story and lore, I don't want to judge it too much because it's clearly still in its early stages, and I actually am, at least mildly interested, in seeing where this goes. If I'm not stupid, I think it's currently setting something up regarding people's minds and memories being trapped and held within the game, or something along those lines, as shown by the "I didn't want people to think I was looking through their memories" guy that gets yoinked by the evil sign. That's not a super unique premise, but again, it's very early in the storyline of this. Things could still absolutely 180, and I could end up really enjoying it. Even though it's only been about a year and a half, this one has a full remake. It's in the same style as Gift Scop, where they're aiming to be a one-to-one exact replica. Because of that, I've got to say I was not excited to slowly walk around a field for 40 minutes. What a man's gotta do, what a man's gotta do. Right off the bat, I noticed that they seem to have shortened the distance between locations, which is really fucking funny. Even with it aiming to be one-to-one, these guys knew they had to trim that shit down. There's also a few other minor changes and omissions, ones which are just kind of jarring to me. Within the series, there's a scene where the player goes through a small tunnel to reach a building, but here it just teleports you. I don't know why they didn't just make the tunnel. It's about 10 meters long. Of course, I had to check what happens if you lose, and on both days, it simply plays a game over screen as soon as either evil creature touches you. I also tried wandering off into the distant hills, but there's just an invisible wall, so I had to walk of shame back to town. Oh, I hear him. Oh, he's on my ass. Fuck off. Also, this is just a minor thing I found funny, but both here and in the original video, there's a puzzle, if you can call it that, which reveals where the next location is by looking through a specific ring in this ring-filled area. The problem here is that it leads you to the only other building on the entire map, which is fully visible, even without the ring's assistance. This shit is here purely to waste your time. See you later, dickhead. I've got to say, as a game that you can actually play, this was a bit more engaging. The distance between locations being shortened definitely helped things. I really don't know why Kane thought that watching a guy walk through a Windows Bliss wallpaper for 30 minutes would make for engaging content. I had the realization while playing this that people still live here probably would have been better off as a game, exploring at your own pace, rather than a YouTube series. It being a video, as of now, adds like nothing, because there's no narration, or main character, or anything like that which would add to it, which can only be done as a video. Playing this remake gives you the exact same experience as watching it, if not a better one. Again though, the series is unfinished, and this could easily change in the future, depending on what happens in the following episodes. Overall, a pretty okay game, and a very good replica, but there's not much to it right now since the series itself is so short. You can play through both days, and that's it. It's the exact same experience as watching the videos, but you get to be the one walking around for half an hour. You scum. You scum. I don't even know if I could get away at this point. That's... Really? Since Kane has likely gone Hollywood for the rest of his life, I kinda doubt this will ever be continued in a major way. But if it is, there is potential for it to become something greater. From what I've heard, he's talked a bit about returning to his YouTube, saying that he misses it, but I wouldn't put money on that being anything more than small passion projects at this point. I'd be happy to be proven wrong though. Again, I don't dislike Kane at all. I respect him a lot, and actually had very high hopes for the series, which is probably at least partially why it disappointed me so much. But even if this was by someone completely different, I would have all the same criticisms and be saying all the same stuff. Although it being Kane did mean it had higher expectations for me when going into it. I also have no idea what the general sentiment is around the series, so I might be preaching to the choir here, or saying some outrageous shit that's gonna get me jumped in an alley. I do hope that he comes back to this, as it's in an easily salvageable position, despite my criticisms. Those first 2 episodes will forever be a slog, but the series itself has incredible potential. Genuinely, if he just shortens the walking time, the series will be like twice as good as it is now. Also, add some stakes. As of now, the only threat is getting caught, which has unknown consequences. Again, maybe getting snagged teleports you into the real-life version of the game. I don't know. That's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. Back in 2024, YouTuber Sagan Hawks released a video named "No One Can Find This Creepy Dinosaur Game." It is a lot like the Catastrophe Crow video by Adam Butcher, having an established YouTuber discuss an old lost video game which has never seen the light of day. In this case though, it's somewhat more of a video essay with narration covering his entire search for and playthrough of the game. Now I'd love to talk about it, it's pretty good, but doing a video essay kind of thing on a video essay kind of thing is getting into a new level of YouTube meta fuckery that goes beyond a reasonable level. This is one of few cases in this where I'd say you would 100% be better off just going and watching that video yourself. I would literally just be saying exactly what was said there. As a mostly spoiler-free TLDW, Sagan discusses a dinosaur-themed escape room game from his childhood, which he can't seem to find anywhere online. One person made a Reddit thread about it, also just asking what the game was called and if anybody remembered it, and that's about it. He ends up finding the game, which was called Escape Triassic Hall, and does a full walkthrough for the video. I've mentioned throughout this project that one of my favorite aspects of these stories is when they add small moments of realism to make them feel less scripted, and this video is full of that stuff.
Has the game actually been right under my nose this whole time? Bro, no! When did that happen? When did that happen?
The whole thing is also played completely straight. There's no creepy demons haunting the game, hidden ARG messages, or any shit like that. And that's actually one of my favorite parts about this one. He's created an entire fake game to do a walkthrough of, with the game's original content serving as the primary horror factor. The game itself is mildly creepy, as it was a children's puzzle horror game, and has a few death scenes that would scare any kid playing, but aren't super bloody or disturbing or anything. This isn't a Petscop scenario where he's found a hidden button that activates a new secret area. It's just the original game played through from start to finish. On top of that, the expectation that this will turn out to be a creepy ARG is another part of why this works so well. You're waiting for a scary monster to pop out at any second who talks directly to Sagan or some shit like that, but nothing like that ever happens. All of its scares are fully believable stuff that don't even require you to suspend your disbelief. Even when the game starts glitching out, that's completely reasonable as it's an old-ass game from the 90s. Mild spoiler here, but this one ends on a screen saying that the game crashed and couldn't be recovered, followed by an immediate reveal that the entire thing was an unfiction project. Honestly, would have been a way more baller move to simply end it on "the game crashed," immediately closing out the video right after that. Even then, this fooled, tricked, and deceived a shitload of people, as there's a ton of comments that clearly don't know it's fake. The Reddit post shown off in the video discussing the game, which was obviously by Sagan, has a Redditor in there informing them that a YouTuber named Sagan Hawks claimed to have discovered what this game was. seeing that was some of the funniest shit out of anything here, and proves that if he had cut to black, instantly ended this one on the game crashing, it would have been way cooler, let's be real. As I said back at the beginning, this one is definitely worth a watch, as it's both very well made and very entertaining. Also short, it's only about 30 minutes with no side videos or ARG stuff. Unfortunately, there's no actual game associated with this. No official release, no fan games, nothing. So, I guess it's time to move on. Hold on a minute here. Wait a minute. I'm getting word that there are Escape Triassic Hall recreations. So, we're back on Roblox again. This one was just a series of screens taken directly from the video, not an actual remake. I have nothing to say about this. You click a few times and it ends, which does include your entire Roblox browser crashing. I'll give it points for accuracy. Also, this was the ending in the video, so I guess I technically beat Escape Triassic Hall. Apple bottom jeans. Boots with the fur. The next one up was another Roblox game. This second one was a lot more interesting, being in proper 3D. 3 whole dimensions. You could walk around and explore the starting lobby, 1 room, and that's actually it. It's entirely unfinished. Dude, this is just like the video. Holy cow. I finally found one, not on Roblox, but just like that first one, it was just a game that took clips directly from the video itself and made them interactable. Also, like the first one, it just ends after like a minute because you can't get past a certain puzzle. It just doesn't work. I think the problem with these ones trying to recreate it just using clips from the video is that there simply wasn't enough raw gameplay shown off for that to work at all. If you remake this, you've got to remake it from the ground up, which it doesn't look like anyone has done. I like this one a fair bit. One thing these projects tend to do exceptionally well is the presentation of the games themselves, and Escape Triassic Hall is definitely no exception. This was fantastically done and looks dead on. It seriously looks straight out of the era, aside from a few minor nitpicks that people had in the comments, and they were small ones too. Shit like specific dinosaurs not being publicly known about on a large scale by the time of this game's release. Shit that I personally would have never noticed, if not pointed out directly. Since I only gave a brief explanation, I skipped out on discussing how the video itself isn't just a hunt for the game, but there's also a bit of a story being told too, which I like. It's more of a personal story, not one about the game. One of the last big points of discussion in this, the one about obsessive archival and not letting go of the past, was strangely relatable to me. That kind of shit being thrown into this really adds a lot to it for me. Like, I don't know anything about Adam Butcher after Crow 64, but even if this is a character of Sagan Hawks and not his actual thoughts, I still related a lot to him as a sort of protagonist in the story. Overall, very well done. I would absolutely recommend. Before getting started with Laceygames, I've got to say that it has a lot of disturbing topics, imagery, and themes. Basically all of the stuff YouTube doesn't like discussed or shown, this discusses and shows. If you're uncomfortable with anything like that, let this be a warning. The Laceygames series is a collection of lost and obscure, normal and girly flash games, each of which houses a deeper hidden devious secret within it. The first one of these came out in October of 22 and is by a channel named Ghost Tundra. To my knowledge, this one isn't really an ARG, just a collection of a few main videos, some extra bonus ones, as well as a game, which currently only has a demo. I didn't watch any of the behind the scenes or merch videos, so if those add to the lore, well, I missed them, teehee. I've got to say though, the idea of a creepy flash site is quite intriguing. It's the first time we've seen anything like that. Lacey's Wardrobe was the first video released and is a classic dress-up style flash game. These were extremely prevalent anywhere that hosted flash games. In this one, you dress up famous Laceygames character, Laceygames, and within about 20 seconds, it's already showing creepy shit with the colors inverting evil style and text reading, "Help, Lacey." The goal of the game is to get Lacey dressed for success for 3 different places she's visiting throughout the day. It starts off completely normal, with the first spot having no issues. It's a literal walk in the park. During the second dress-up, she gets a phone call from her date, a very sketchy-sounding guy who's all like,
Lacey, did you see my stacks, Lacey? I can't wait to meet up, Lacey.
After the call ends, the screen cuts out for a moment and comes back with her bedroom, now a bit darker. The music distorted and muffled by a persistent heavy breathing, and peering through the window is her date. I really like this part. It actually unnerved me a bit. A rare instance during one of these where I was a little spooked. The third dressing has Lacey receive another phone call. This time the man is screaming at her to come outside. Lacey herself brings up text saying, "Please don't make me go outside. Please, please, please don't make me go." But whoever's playing doesn't give a shit and kicks her out the door. This is followed by screams and flashing images of Lacey's mutilated corpse. This all culminates in the face reveal of the stalker man who says that he ate her so that she would be with him forever. Overall, this is a solid episode and not what I expected this to be at all. It's disturbing in a very real way. This is shit that can and does happen in real life, and that's going to continue for a lot of the series. Like I said before, the part where he's in the window genuinely creeped me out. It might not sound like the highest praise to say that the horror video mildly scared me, but these video game ones very rarely do. The best part about this one is that it could totally be a 100% real Flash game. Honestly, this is tame for Flash. There were some fucked up games back then, fully accessible to kids, some of which I went over back in my Flash game video a few years back. I do feel that it's entirely possible, and even likely, this was supposed to just be a one-and-done little project. It has a pretty definitive ending. I am glad it continued though, because this is a really interesting premise. From this point forward, the episodes continuously just about double in size. Because of that, I'm not going to go over every last detail, especially with the later ones. Also, I'll say now that this is a series I'd recommend giving a watch if you want some genuinely disturbing and depressing videos. Like with the last, this is another freakified version of a classic Flash game genre, cooking games. You drag ingredients into a dish and serve them to customers. This episode introduces a sort of protagonist figure, as there's a few points where the gameplay cuts over to some text from whoever's recording this. As of now, they aren't really important, just serving as context for what's happening. In this case, they said that they found a disturbing secret if you let the timer run out. Doing so results in a fail screen, where a real-life photo appears, with Lacey up front being called a failure and useless. Upon failing more, a short cutscene plays, which Lacey narrates, saying that this is all she has, and if she fails, she sees no other option than to, And it's pretty much from this point onwards that it becomes a lot harder to discuss the series on YouTube. Some real messed up topics that I'd love to discuss, but it doesn't hold back at all, which is good, honestly. The series does not censor itself to appeal more to little kids or anything like that. I'll try my best to cover this one without doing any goofy, dumbass euphemisms that ruin it, but just keep in mind that I'm going to be playing this safe. The final day is a completely warped version of the cooking game. It's truly Hell's Kitchen. The ingredients here are shit like cigarette butts, used rubbers, dead cockroaches, uncle, and it's from these ingredients that you can start to put together what Laceygames as a series is very likely about. Stories of abuse and turmoil suffered by one of the developers, represented in various forms, hidden across a number of Flash games. They present themselves as innocent on the outside, but upon deeper inspection, you reveal traumatic events and their scars left on Lacey's psyche. Thankfully here, unlike Sad Satan, the imagery isn't just for shock value. It's worth noting that each of the ingredients flash up a quick 1 to 3 frame long image, each with a bunch of text, sometimes full paragraphs, that further elaborate on their place in the story. And this is, by far, Laceygames' biggest flaw. These text-ridden, single-frame images are a constant throughout the series, and are incredibly annoying to read. Every single time, you've got to pause and go frame by frame, followed by having to decipher what they're even saying. Because despite already being hidden, due to the nature of them being blink-and-you'll-miss-it moments, they also have warping and distortion on them. Some of these are straight up unreadable for the most part. They are a complete mess which really hurt the pacing if you're stopping to read them. And I wish the info on them was presented in a more natural way, rather than just dumping a full page of text on screen for a 60th of a second. Lacey ends this off by serving up the Uncle Stew to nasty-looking versions of the customers from earlier, and her restaurant gets closed down for violating health code guidelines. No shit. Following this, another cutscene plays with Lacey saying, "This is it then," preceded by her following through on her intentions from earlier. During the death screen, a single frame image appears of a woman sitting in front of a computer. It's kinda hard to tell exactly what's going on. At first, I thought she was tied up or something, but upon closer inspection, it seems as if she's had wires hooked up to her, inserted directly into her body. If that is the case, I have to assume this is some kind of uploading the mind into the machine kind of thing, and this is Lacey's real-life counterpart. I enjoyed the second episode quite a bit, aside from the issues I have with the single-frame images. I absolutely love how this series isn't afraid to go in some really dark directions just 2 episodes in. And despite being shocking, it's not just for shock value. This could have very easily come across as like an edgy, gory, "look at us, we're not afraid to get screwed up here" kind of series. But it avoids that and feels like it's done in a mature enough way, at least for YouTube web series standards. One major plus is that it's not trying to like game theoryify it, where you have to put a bunch of clues together to see what's going on here. If you just read those single frame paragraphs it shows, it is very clear what the story of this one is. There is nothing to solve here. I do think the first episode is a bit stronger, just because it truly feels like something that would have been on some weird Flash site back in the day. It was short, to the point, and very unnerving. Lacey's pet shop starts off with a couple of voice messages from Grace, a co-founder of Laceygames.com. She claims to have had nothing to do with the more disturbing parts of the site, not even knowing about them at the time. She is very defensive about it. She also hasn't talked to the other co-founder who did add the freaky shit, Rocio, in years, and has no idea what she's up to. The gameplay here is a, you guessed it, pet shop game. This episode is primarily a critique on animal cosmetic surgery, like clipped ears and tails, and really drives it home by making you have to perform increasingly outrageous procedures on a number of pets. I'm not going to show most of these because they're just kind of upsetting, but this tortoise one was honestly more funny than it was scary. Upon completion of the animal game, the episode serves as a further expansion of the abuse plotline from the previous episode, going over more of what happened between Lacey and her family, specifically her uncle. I'm really not the biggest fan of this episode just because of the topic it covers. That's not to say it's bad. It certainly achieves what it sets out to do, but I really don't have any desire to watch animals go through this kind of stuff, even if it's a cartoon horror story critique on the subject. It also continues the Laceygames tradition of singular frame, incredibly important lore dumps. So that's another negative. As a video though, this one is really well done. If you're looking to get disturbed, this is probably the one that'll do it. Based on the title of this one, I assumed it was going to be a play on Tuber Explains the Series videos, but done by the person that made the series. Unfortunately, that was not the case. It was just a normal episode. This one opens with a full musical number to start things off, which also introduces some new Laceygames original characters. The important one being this girl here, Jay. It's pretty good, and it's with this episode that things start to really evolve production-wise beyond just, I found evil Flash game. It's got a whole website, semi-live action bits. There's still frames, but still are real-life photos with voice acting, and the background narrative of the developers behind Laceygames starts to really get going in this one. The series finds its footing here in a big way, which is a shame because this is the last episode. The co-founder of Laceygames, Grace, is hanging out with the protagonist IRL and showing off an archive of the old website, guiding her through it. The protagonist says Jay was always her favorite of the Laceygames trio and is recommended to play Jay's skating game. This is a legit 5-minute long section of her just playing through it, in which she fails a couple times and then locks in, nuking through the entire thing. Unfortunately, Jay went too fast too quick and fell into Chicago's infamous spike pit which kills off her character permanently, and she never appeared on the website ever again. After this is a lot of tense build-up, even more of these single-frame messages, some lore on the development, and then they get into the next main game. This one was a makeup game where you apply makeup to different customers as Lacey. There's a few weird things that happen, which all build up to the reveal that this isn't Lacey running a makeup parlor, but instead working as a mortuary cosmetologist. These were dead bodies she was working on. It's not the most insane twist in the world, but the actual most insane twist in the world comes just after, with the realization that this game was connected to the skating game, and Jay's mangled corpse was in the makeup chair. Lacey is understandably incredibly grief-stricken and in straight-up denial about her best friend being dead as fuck. Honestly, an insane twist. I did not expect the two games to be connected in any way. This is one of my favorite reveals in any of these series. It's so unbelievably messed up and just sad at the same time. A brutal scene. Lacey is visibly shaking and completely distraught during this. It ends off with another song by Lacey, which is about the immeasurable grief over losing her friend in that tragic Chicago spike pit incident. The lyrics are sad as hell, with Lacey wanting nothing but rainy skies and suffering, but the days continue to be nice and sunny, and it pisses her off. It makes more sense when you actually listen to it and aren't going off my dumb paraphrasing. It's good, I swear. I will say that this episode does kinda drag a bit, and the nearly 30-minute runtime is made up of mostly normal-ish Flash gameplay that could have been trimmed down without any real loss. Kinda nitpicky, but whatever. Aside from that, good episode, and I wish they made more. This episode is probably my second favorite. It's got a very tragic story, and really goes into all the trauma and depression surrounding the sudden passing of a loved one. On top of the 4 main episodes, a series of brief webisodes is also currently being released. The webisodes are kinda hard to discuss because they're less of a continuation and more what-if scenarios and side stories, at least for now. There's only 3 of these out, and one was fairly recent, so I have to assume they're leading to a bigger reveal or something. The first one is mostly just an introduction to these, and a slight expansion of the Laceygames cast members, mainly focusing on Lacey. In this episode, they set up a webcam. That's it. The second one of these, which features Jay, has her Crasher skateboard, which has some subtle foreshadowing to the Chicago spike pit incident, and then it just ends. The final webisode, at least as of now, is an animation of the dress-up game. Again, this subtly foreshadows the evil stalker man from the original. I guess it can kind of be seen as like wardrobe game good ending though, because Lacey in this one just stays home in her pajamas. I gotta be real, I don't really get the point of these. They're like prequels or alt timelines to the original videos. They're pretty cool and well animated, don't get me wrong, but like, are you supposed to watch these first? They are clearly building up to something though, as each episode has been more directly ominous than the last, so I think I'll just have to wait and see. Aside from the webisodes, their main focus was on creating a full-scale, fully playable Laceygames.com website as a game on Steam. Not an actual website, unfortunately. The game is currently just a demo, so there's not a ton to go over here. But before trying out the official game, of course, I had to try plugging Laceygames.com into Google. This took me to Lacy-Games.com, which had such lovable classics as Backrooms, Ultra Kill, and Five Nights at Epstein's. So the intro here straight up confirms that Rocio had her mind plugged into the digital world and was uploaded in some way. Cool. Instant lore development. The game itself opens up into multiple tabs, which is a pretty cool way of emulating having a bunch of shit open on your desktop. It's got a webcam for Grace, a tab for the site, and the games load separately into their own tabs. It's a cool idea, but they also can't be adjusted, and on my monitor, they look like this. I thought that this would be an expansion, which it almost assuredly will be in the full version, but the demo is just a few of the games from the videos one-to-one. There's not much to say about them because of that. You do have to do some investigative work to find the scary versions of some of the games, which is cool. For the Pet Shop one specifically, it's just a normal pet shop game where you trim fur and bathe dirty animals. You've actually got to go into the website tab to find a hidden message telling you to click the dog a bunch of times. And after that, you unlock the secret evil pet shop game. Within the games, a few scenes play out a little differently, but they really are minor changes that I assume are just ones made because the creator wasn't happy with how they were in the original videos. What if we just wait? What happens if we just wait? Let's see. I'm not standing around. Why would I do that? Why would I do that? Come on. Come on. Hey, Vic. I'm trying to play Lacey's Wardrobe. This demo does actually have one new game. Lacey's Love Meter. You enter different names and get a percentage score based on how much she likes the person. Shit like her friends' names are 100%, obviously, but if you enter Uncle, it just nukes the game, browser, and webcam. But you can still select games with the arrow keys during this. Doing so lets you access secreter, eviler versions of Laceygames. That's actually pretty cool, and there is zero indication you can do this. Without any knowledge of the secret inputs, you'd assume it just crashed. There's no way the full game isn't going to be full of shit like this, which has the opportunity to make for a really unique game. I managed to get into the evil version of the evil pet shop game, and it just had a static background and a new image pop up at the end. It's not anything major, but still, I'm a big fan of secrets. The single frame image shit really does not work here though, because it's a game. I can't rewind and go frame by frame here. Please change how these are implemented. Please, please, please. Overall, this is a very cool concept, and I really hope the full game is like an entire site worth of games to play, with most or all of the ones shown in the videos, and with all kinds of hidden secrets to be found. Based on the trailer and Steam page, it does look like that'll be the case. And that is very exciting. I will almost definitely check out the full thing when it releases. It's worth noting that while I was looking into this, I saw that some goddamn buffoon decided to remake the dress-up game, publishing it to Steam without any permission. Obviously, it got taken down, so I can't play it. What the hell did they think was going to happen there? Of course, I also had to do a quick Roblox check, because they seem to remake all of these goddamn games. And yeah, there's multiple Laceygames remakes on Roblox as well, each having millions of visits. One of them has more games than the actual demo on Steam, which is kind of funny, but just like that, they're all remakes of what happens in the videos. The maturity minimal rated Roblox game about a series with such dark subject matter is kind of insane. I went into this earlier on, but as a basic theory, which is all but confirmed, honestly it's barely even a theory, based on the photo of the girl hooked up to a computer with a bunch of wires going into her body, and the game's cover art featuring Lacey full of wires, and the literal confirmation that Rocio uploaded her mind to the web, I think it's very safe to say that there's some digital soul or memory uploading shit going on here, where Lacey is Rocio, or is a representation of her consciousness. A lot of the messed up shit happening in-game to Lacey is likely stuff Rocio went through in real life being projected into the game. It's the simplest explanation of the basics of the series, and the most likely one, in my opinion. The only real problem with it is that she straight up dies multiple times in the series, so it can't be literal one-to-one recreations of things she's gone through, but sort of reimaginings. It also can't be a full-on transfer where her mind is fully within cyberspace, as Rocio presumably did still interact with Grace in real life, at least for a while still developing for the site. The series also has some secondary critiques on the nature of girl games and girly stuff as a whole. A lot of the 4th episode is dedicated to Puritan parents reaching out to the devs and calling for Jay to be more girly, including throwing some slurs her way. I'm not exactly fully qualified to speak on that kind of stuff in a big way, but I do like what it's saying. There's also the aspect of how these games promote these super cool and fun jobs and lifestyles as easygoing and bacon epic swag, while in reality, they can be completely soul-crushing and incredibly demanding. It's solid stuff, much more interesting than if it was just creepy flash game with spooky secrets. This series has a lot to say, and even here, I've left out a few of its themes and storylines. Originally, after finishing this one, I kind of felt gross after watching it, just due to the sheer amount of disturbing shit, and initially wrote down that I wasn't a huge fan. But after letting it sit with me for a few weeks, and it did sit with me, I've got to say that this is one I've definitely come around on. I really like a lot of what this one is doing. It's one of few web series that have really stuck with me, due to its themes and imagery, and I think that counts for a lot. And again, it does not mess around. And honestly, I'm amazed some of the parts are even still up without one of those rare, I'm 18 plus and I agree to watch this YouTube confirmations. I mentioned in part 1 that Sad Satan kinda disappointed me because it doesn't really do anything with its implied themes. And Laceygames is exactly how you should go about those themes. Sad Satan just chucked up a couple images of infamous predators and called it a day, whereas Lacey isn't afraid to get into gory, gruesome, graphic detail about the effects of abuse from the victim's perspective. That's how you do it properly. Sad Satan didn't say anything worthwhile. Laceygames has a novel worth of shit to say. It's not subtle about any of it, and I don't think it should be. Again, I kinda wish it had a few more actual videos, but I assume they've pivoted to putting all ideas for any other potential episodes into the game. Having said that, the series was getting a little drawn out within the videos, and if you were going to end it off, this would be a decent place to do so. For now though, I will be patiently waiting for the game to fully release to see how Laceygames wraps up. Before we continue, I want to quickly go back and cover a couple that I missed last time in my pre-2020 deep dive. To start things off, we've got a bit of a unique and very short one with Kekcroc. Kekcroc is a fake game originating from a 4chan post around June 2016. I don't think the original thread was archived anywhere, so I've got nothing to show from it. It was basically just a hilarious haha funny 4chan bit, being a shitpost lost game for the Genesis with a bunch of fake lore and level descriptions. It did go a bit further than just being a forgotten 4chan meme, as an alleged soundbite from the game was released of the titular character saying his iconic phrase, "Hey, I'm Kekcroc." This video also included a cover art for the game, although I'm not certain if it came from this, or if it was also in the original thread. Apparently this whole thing was started by Nicholas Fedorov, now known as Proxima64, who you might have heard of if you're into weird, surreal animations on YouTube. They're behind stuff like The Deforestation of Jerry and The Computer, among many others which are fairly well known online. They're also the only creator here where I knew about them before making this. I'm an enjoyer of Proxima64's music. It was a nice surprise to see that they made this too. They've even acknowledged people in my exact situation, saying that a lot of people know about Kekcroc and about me, but don't know that I made Kekcroc. There's genuinely not much more to it than that. I'd go over more of what was said in the original 4chan thread, but again, it's seemingly lost to time. Having said that, there is a full-on fan game for this one called Kekcroc Forever, which we've got to check out. Kek it up. Kek it up, motherfucker. Kekcroc Forever is pretty much the only time where I'm going to say that the fan game just completely nukes the original story in terms of quality. Like, this has no right going as hard as it does. Even the music here is a collection of proper jock jams. I don't think a lot of it was made for this, but damn, this is a good mixtape. Kekcroc's got some jock jams. Kill these frogs. Kill them. Kekcroc, let's go. Kekcroc, let's go. Kekcroc, let's go. The gameplay is combat-focused platforming, with Kekcroc being able to swap between a few weapons. I mostly just stuck to the rocks you could chuck at people's skulls. You go through levels collecting cash, and spend it on more rocks to throw at more skulls. It's also just graphically solid, especially the castle level, which even has some classic 4th gen 3D that looks really cool. Overall, this is a decent 2D side-scrolling platformer where you play as famous video game character Kekcroc. Get him in Smash. It has some jock jams, over 16 levels and 8 boss fights, and plays alright. It even has like straight up Sonic 3 Orb Collection bonus levels, but I suck ass at those and didn't beat any of them. Okay, can I stop screwing these up? I really enjoyed this one, beating the whole thing in just one sitting. Kekcroc Forever. I don't even know where to start with Concluse. It was released back in 2017, and at a glance, This one looks like a love child between Sad Satan and Petscop. Black and white graphics, a creepy atmosphere, the claim that it's a lost PS1 title, and over 18 episodes ranging from 3 to 20 minutes each. It starts off as a Silent Hill clone, and by the end, it is batshit insane. To properly summarize this would legit take multiple hours, and even then, it would likely be incomprehensible to follow. Concluse begins with a few episodes that almost serve as a sort of pilot for the series, as they are very different from what comes after. They showcase a very odd-looking game, which is presented as an FPS, but it looks like those janky old FMV cutscenes in late 90s games. At first, I kinda hated it, but the series drops this style just a few episodes in, and I immediately started missing it, as it gave it a very unique look. By episode 3, they swap over to using an actual game engine, and it just looks like a weird Unity project, including it being very obviously controlled by keyboard and mouse on a lost PS1 game. And unfortunately, those first few pilot episodes are where the series really shines and is probably at its best. The way the first 2 episodes are presented, it's almost like Bloodborne, Central Yarnum to be specific. You can hear distant shrieks, scraping metal and otherworldly noises, people laughing hysterically inside of houses which have had their doors bolted shut, random beheaded animals, bodies falling from the sky, the sounds of beasts. It has got crazy atmosphere. One part even has a random laughing baby sound. Buddy has high insight. The gameplay itself is a lot like Silent Hill, with a bit of RE1 in there as well. There's weird puzzles with clocks and keys, and it takes multiple episodes just to get through one alleyway. By episode 4, though, the series undergoes its soft reboot and begins again as a proper FPS game. It feels nothing like a PS1 game from this point on. Just a modern game with some pixelization and grain filters thrown onto it. The series also gets kind of fucking boring from this point as well. It is a lot of walking around slowly, solving puzzles and finding keys to progress. There's occasionally a cutscene of a freaky evil ooey gooey glue man creature, but that's it. Also this dog that bolts away at Mach 10. Within just a few parts, it also entirely drops basically any unique ideas it had and becomes a knockoff Silent Hill for a good while. We're talking like borderline copying it. There's sections which are literally just otherworld versions of areas they've previously visited. And the plot of this, I shit you not, is about a man heading into a ghost town to find his wife, who's been missing for 3 years, and he even says, "Could Carolyn really be here? In this place?"
Mary, could you really be in this town?
There comes a point where you go from inspiration to blatant plagiarism, and this was really getting there for a good chunk of it. Just a few episodes later, they do the Maria Anyway scene, literally 1-to-1. The first half of the series really feels like someone played Silent Hill and then tried to make their own Silent Hill, without properly understanding what makes those games so great and why they work. Thankfully, after this they kinda tone down the blatant Silent Hill 2 plot elements quite a bit and get back to telling their own story. Twin Peaks has come up quite a few times during these videos, and the part where he's sitting with his dead sister on lounge chairs on a black and white patterned floor is very Twin Peaks. She gives him a glue Glock, and he can kill enemies for good. Around halfway through the series is when it starts going from Silent Hill clone to what the hell is even happening. In episode 9, the protagonist grabs a pair of soap shoes, and yes, it's the ones from Sonic Adventure 2, and does some Sonic the Hedgehog rail grinding down in the sewers. The next episode has his dead sister sniping glue creatures with an AWP that makes Star Wars blaster sounds. And then the iconic dog from earlier gets scrunched up into a little ball. By part 11, the series has zero cohesion, and I was completely lost on what the fuck was even happening. A Grand Wizard summons the protagonist, and yes, it is that kind of Grand Wizard. He basically implies that he and his pointy-hatted friends are running a train on the protagonist's wife down in the basement, and I'm not kidding about that, that's not a joke. The evil baby. The boss baby. With his Counter-Strike knife. Oh my god. Boom! So after this, they hop in a big ball and go to war-torn Disneyland, where Mickey Mouse awaits, atop his iconic Big Big Castle. Mickey chooses to not blow his brains out, instead jacking the protagonist's ride after asking Grok if this was true. Mickey then gets eaten by a hell monster after sipping black goo from Lake Death. The series just ends here, by the way. No conclusion, no big payoff. It just starts snowballing into random bullshit, and then they decided to make 2 games out of it. Like, show someone this and try to convince them it's from the same series as this. Good luck. The first game in the Concluse video game series, Concluse, was released about a year after the web series wrapped up. Despite ending on that Mickey Mouse bullshit, this aims to recreate the more tame parts of the series, where it was just Silent Hill 2. Aside from a new intro, which has the protagonist talk about his missing wife, followed by some short puzzles in a subway, it's basically just a remake of the first 7 episodes, with a handful of small additions, like the ability to call people on payphones. It's decent and free, but if you've seen the series, you really aren't gaining much by playing this. The second game in the Concluse video game series was released 5 years later, and is about 15 times as long as the first. This one starts off with a couple, along with their son in the back seat, arriving home to find their daughter dead. The son, a wee boy at the time, is the protagonist from the web series. For some reason, unknown to me, after the game flashes forward to when he's an adult, it's still the exact same player model. It looks like a little 10-year-old boy, but has the voice of an adult man, and his goal is to find his missing wife. It is very jarring. This one certainly looks, plays, and just is better than the first game in pretty much every way. I was actually enjoying my time with it. It's like they finally figured out why Silent Hill is fun after like 7 years. The game instantly starts off with a big key quest to unlock a gate, which includes making use of a fishing rod to snag some cranks out of a river. Mega points go to Concluse 2 for being the only one of these games to include fishing mechanics. It's also got combat with these strange ghost creatures. It's not very good, but it's better than nothing. Just this first area, which is a simple tutorial zone to learn the game's mechanics, took about 30 minutes, and even included a whole Silent Hill Otherworld version as well, which actually looks pretty cool. Oh shit. Jon Bernthal's here. After getting the keys to unlock the first real level, you walk into the courtyard of a hotel featured in the series, which has a statue of Thomas Edison right out front. You can inspect the plaque, and upon looking up, the statue comes to life and starts talking mad shit, resulting in a Dark Souls boss battle. I was not expecting there to be a boss fight with a funny statue named the Dandy in the first 30 minutes, but I'm all for it. I pulled some smooth moves on the bitch-ass statue, but couldn't figure out how to actually take him down. I pulled out the fishing rod to use as a bit, and that's actually what you were supposed to do. He then phase transitioned and pulled out 2 axes, doing his patented whirly-twirly maneuver. But I dodged and weaved through it and ripped the cap of his skull off with my big rod. I made it inside the hotel, and apparently I was about 5% of the way through the game at this point, and it had been like an hour. So I called it there. This is one I'll probably return to at some point in the future, likely in a stream or something, because it's too insane not to cover, but too much to cover here. This game ends with him finding his wife as a VTuber K-pop idol in Hell, South Korea, including a full music video. This series is completely incoherent and can't decide if it wants to be its own thing or just a ripoff of Silent Hill. Really, it feels like it can't decide what it wants to be in general. You could split this up into like 3 or 4 entirely separate stories, and each of them would work completely fine on their own. It going from Evil Grey Hell World to Mickey Mouse Kingdom by the end is just so insanely jarring, and not in a good way. It's not entirely bad, and I enjoyed my time watching it, but it's not exactly high art. I didn't mention this earlier, but the series also included a few real-life tragedies for like no reason at all. The hotel area has a whole episode dedicated to basically just a big reference to Elisa Lam's tragic death. For no reason at all. There was zero payoff or narrative purpose for doing that. I'd recommend at least giving this one a shot, because its utter insanity towards the end and in the second game is hard to properly describe here. Like, look at this.
A new world order is emerging. So that's why we're unleashing an entire summer of new music, art, comics, and animations.
GEB Operating System. I think it goes without saying that an entire fake OS with its own games, applications, and websites is a clear step forward for the genre and a very unique premise. Laceygames was a website. GEB is an entire computer. The videos here showcase GEB as being a fever dream mix of Windows XP through 7 using the Frutiger arrow and liminal space aesthetics very deliberately, all in order to give off a nostalgic but distant feeling, which is a major theme of GEB's storyline. At first I was kinda iffy on this one, as I thought it was just using this overdone aesthetic due to a lack of creativity, but it is very much chosen with purpose. As the series went on, it only got better, eventually ending up as one of my favorites, maybe even my number one. It's hard to say. As of now, it's unfinished, so my thoughts on it are very likely to change in the future. Before we continue, I've got to mention that GEB does not have any associated games, but it's the only one like that in the video. No fan projects, itch.io stuff, official releases, Roblox clones, nothing. The only reason I'm adding it is because, well, I like GEB. Just think of this as a little bonus. GEB is a series which has criminally low view counts for what it is, especially in comparison to a lot of other projects. Because of that, and because it's unfinished, I won't be giving a full massive recap of each episode. I would highly recommend checking it out for yourself. It's a little jank and not the best series in terms of production, but it has so much heart and tells a very interesting story so far, with plenty left to go. I'll give a brief recap, talking mainly about the fake games featured within GEB, so that this isn't just, this is GEB, GEB is good, go watch GEB. This will also have a few spoilers, so be warned. With that said, keep in mind that GEB is currently on hiatus, so for all I know, we are only like a quarter of the way through the series at this point. GEB Operating System follows Nora, taking place entirely on her desktop. There's no voiceover, but she frequently chats with our other main character, Lulu. It's through these interactions that we can get an idea of how Nora is feeling, what's on her mind, that kind of stuff. We can also discern that based on the various websites she visits and games she plays. The first episode is a little rough, with its low video quality making a lot of text illegible, and the screen shake is kind of annoying. But if you get through it, the series really starts to pick up. Outside of the fake games, the relationship between Nora and Lulu is what really makes this one stand out. Things start off normally, with the two being best buddies in high school, but as the series goes on, a rift between the two starts to form. The first fake game in GEB appears in the second episode, called City Folks 2D. It is very much inspired by Animal Crossing visually. It literally has City Folks in the title, like, come on. She makes a little gabbling and gets into it. The actual gameplay is not like Animal Crossing at all, being more akin to an RPG Maker game. And this game wastes no time at all introducing strange weirdo freak characters and strange weird shit happening just as quick. Like, she meets Joshua Graham and then finds someone who got shot in the head, all within about 2 minutes. While you're focused on the game, you might miss the evil transparent woman slowly creeping into frame during her playthrough. The City Folks 2D gameplay continues in the third episode, this time having more visual novel-like gameplay. She finishes up her conversations, heads outside, and what the heck, it's a flippin' 3D game now. Holy cow, City Folks 3D, am I right? She walks around the outside area for a bit, talking to a few NPCs, but she seems to need items or something, as she can't really do much. The gameplay is cut off by a phone call from Lulu, who says she'll be coming over shortly. Don't bother denying it, she's already on her bike. Now, I don't know if you want to count this as a fake game, but Nora takes a best friend quiz after this, and based on the results, she is 100% best friends with Lulu. The website this takes place on also has a Blue Gordon Freeman cameo. It's worth noting around here that GEB takes place within some kind of floating timeline. It's like a dreamlike version of Windows. The YouTube layout is from 2007. The OS is a mix of multiple Windows versions. Some of the programs are straight out of the early 2000s. The websites all look like they're from the 90s to 2000s. At the same time, a lot of lingo they use, and a few other small hints throughout the series, indicate that it actually takes place more recently. I think that this is just a stylistic choice and doesn't hint towards a dream theory, where this all takes place inside of a coma or something, but you never know. A lot of the series is very dreamy, with flashbacks to memories happening within the operating system itself. Again though, this could just be a stylistic choice, and nothing more. The second fake game in the series looks like it's a new entry in the City Folk series, but it's never given a proper name. Because of that, I'll be referring to this isometric one as City Folks 2.5D. It all takes place on a Game Boy on the computer, which I'll be referring to as a GEB boy. Lulu and Nora are just hanging out in this one, listening to some fucking Initial D Eurobeat for some reason. Nora is confirmed a big fan of the Akagi Red Sun's Takahashi Brothers. City Folks 2.5D includes a game within a game, as Nora plays a quick round of DDR. A bit later on, Nora buys a future potion from Bob outside of a Walmart. Don't ask, it's a whole thing. And the scene which follows is one of my favorite ones throughout any of the series we've gone over today. It's a simple hilltop talk between two friends as they gaze over the city below, lit by a starry night sky. There's no scares to be found here, only a conversation between two lifelong friends talking about their lives and biggest fears. It's a long, thoughtful conversation, which even wraps back into an earlier episode. The connection made is actually a massive plot revelation, one which implies that GEB may be able to access user memories, possibly even being some kind of neural network. This scene also has some really nice music to top it all off. Nora ends the night by saying that this was really nice, and that Lulu should come over more often. Lulu responds with a very slow text crawl, "I promise you." The scene which follows is incredible, and another one of my favorites. It is a perfect 1-2 punch combined with the previous, and reveals that clearly something has happened between the two friends.
Too many information is overwhelming. Make it stop. I miss you every day. Texting to you feel helpless, and I don't know for how much longer I will be able to recognize the people around me. I feel so scared. Please go back. I promise I will take you back. You will always be my true best friend.
The music, the voice acting, the slow pan across the room, the picture of the two on the wall. There's just something about this scene that I really, really like. It's such a whiplash going from the hilltop scene directly into this. I always love it when these dive into more psychological territory, with the fear of loss and memory being the primary horror factor. It's so much more interesting to me than if GEB was haunted or had an evil monster inside of it, or some shit like that. If you thought the previous City Folks 2D scenes were weird, episode 5 is where things really get strange. This one has Nora enter a room with a mouth she can talk to, eyes she can see with, and ears she can hear with. She first chooses the mouth, which begins a big talk about memory and existence.
Remember, you truly exist only if you acknowledge yourself.
The other two have similarly weird and even meta dialogue. All of this ends with a goofy-doofy cat creature coming on screen to dump a Google Drive link, and then it ends. Unfortunately, GEB Episode 6 is the final one for now. You know for a fact I smashed the like button and turned on the bell notifications below. The whole City Folks 2D section in this one is very dialogue heavy, with a lot happening in it. Too much to really summarize here, but it has some really cool and freaky designs in it. This skeleton bird thing looks awesome. The beginning chunk of it is very surreal and bizarre. The first real scary imagery in the series, but the beauty of GEB is that it'll go from stuff like this, with creepy evil designs, to this, in the blink of an eye. GEB 6 ends off with another classic Nora and Lulu discussion scene, and it's another one that I really enjoy. It deals with themes of being stuck in place, growing older, not knowing where you are in life, the world changing around you, and ends off on a massive tonal shift, which I won't spoil here. Another great scene, and I'm very interested in where the story will go from here. And that's the end of GEB, at least for now. It's currently on hiatus, as the creator wants to sharpen up their skills before continuing. I can respect that, and completely understand. Some of my favorite moments from any of the fake game videos I've looked at are in this series, as they don't go all in on horror, but also have a lot of very real, very tender, very human moments as well. This seriously went from a this is alright kind of series to one of my absolute favorites within just a couple episodes. It deals with actual relatable topics rather than being like, this screwed up game is haunted as shit, what the hell? It's certainly not perfect, and there's others that are definitely better, but to me, GEB is top 3, at least. I really love how this one isn't strictly a Frutiger Arrow turned scary kind of series, but rather one which is more about genuine life issues, the progression of time, nostalgia, and seemingly takes place in some kind of dream realm or shared consciousness. The horror in this one comes from existential dread, memory, lost friendships, feeling lost in life, and actual loss, rather than like, Bonzi buddy, but evil? Although it does seem to maybe possibly have some of that stuff too, with the weird Google Drive cat creature and the transparent woman that creeps into frame. There's also some very Serial Experiments Lane-like shit in this series, mostly in regards to the neural network stuff and how it deals with existence, but also in some of its imagery. If you're a Lane lover, you will definitely notice the similarities. There is an ARG to go along with GEB, a few pages on YouTube and Tumblr, but it doesn't really go anywhere, at least not yet. One of them is basically just used to post the soundtrack. I'd like to speculate and analyze the deeper meanings and themes of GEB's story, but I don't feel right doing that while it's still unfinished. This is another one that I'd be open to returning to at some point down the line, likely when it's fully wrapped up. I would highly recommend checking this one out. I skipped over a lot of what happens in the series, mainly focusing on the game parts and the relationship between the two girls, but there's a lot more to it than that. Another one which is massively underrated, and I can't wait for GEB to return. Shipwrecked 64. This is the only fake Lost game I'll be covering, because if we open this up to include more of these, we'd be here all day. This is an entire genre on its own. Shipwrecked is only even here due to the sheer amount of requests I got to look into it, and because it does do a lot of similar things, only really lacking a web series to go along with it. Aside from that, it's got everything. ARG stuff, hidden secrets, and a fake game. This is another one that I went into completely blind. I had no idea what it was, other than that it was suggested to me for this, and what was on the Steam page. The Steam page itself doesn't exactly hide that it's going to be a secret evil horror project. One of the last screenshots is literally an evil devil Satan creature, so that was my expectation going into this. It also has a really almost shitposty style to it, which was kind of weird. It's supposed to be posing as a lost 90s game, but the trailer is comically shitty.
I need your help.
Step into the 3D realm with Bucky and his friend. Explore a vast open island and hopefully bring your friends back to safety.
Upon launching this one, it hit me with one of those internet privacy connection pop-ups, which immediately got me interested in why the hell this would need to be online. Well, it turns out that the dev themselves will just hop into random people's playthroughs to help guide them through the game, completely in character. That is one of the coolest things that any of these projects have done, full stop. They could have easily used that feature to spook people, but they genuinely do just hop in and give advice.
Okay, there you go, friend.
Stumbler, you gotta play Gauntlet of Bandana.
I don't have hands.
It's a really good point.
Unfortunately, this never happened to me, and at this point, I kinda doubt the dev does these super often, as the game is a few years old at this point. The basic plot of Shipwrecked 64 is just Far Cry 3. You and your buddies end up stranded on an island, and you need to rescue each of them by doing menial labor. You put your ship back together, get your shit together, and sail off into the sunset. Don't forget to slap a like on this video, guys. Don't forget to smash the like button. Crow. The Crow 6... Dude, that's... Dude. Dude. That's freaking Crow 64. Guys, I solved Crow 64. Guys, he's right here. I found him. Guys, I found Crow 64. Guys, what if he's actually a freaking beaver? Guys, there's also an optional ending, one in which you save the islanders by finding a secret hidden big boat which you use to evacuate everyone from the volcano going kaboom. This one has you do a big parkour platforming section through the volcano, and after mucking it up like 9 times, I had to go crazy mode and blitz through it before the whole place went up in smoke. I have to speedrun to make up for that. Are you kidding me? Oh! Don't fucking front flip! Okay, that's bullshit, actually. Okay. This isn't even hard. What the fuck am I doing? I got 90 seconds. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Jesus Christ. Just play it safe. Play it safe. Oh my god. I don't know if I can beat this. Shit. I got 30 seconds. I don't have time. I gotta go. I gotta do a speedrun. Climb it. Go! Go! Go, 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 go! Go! Oh! I think I did it. I hope I did it. Uh-oh. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I won. I beat it. I'm a gamer. Lance, let's go. Lance, let's go. Let's get the fuck out of here. Beating the game unlocks a 1997 OG mode, which is described as the original release of the game with minimal changes. This one unfortunately has the Crow 64 problem of introducing a bunch of ARG shit, which again, not a fan of. It's not to that extreme, but it does include shit like ciphers, websites, videos, and emails you can contact. At the very least, a lot of this is actual content and not just blatant puzzles. The videos also open in your web browser, which I haven't seen done anywhere else, aside from fucking Nightmare Craft. I've also just got to say that they don't really fit the series, as they open YouTube links, which are edited like mid-2000s videos. Again, this is supposed to be an unmodified 1997 N64 game. I'm fairly sure that this is a well-known iconic thing about the series, but the evil mascot appearing inside of the 4x3 black bars was actually really cool. I did not expect that. In 1997, 3 things happened. I might return to this in some way in the future, but for now, that's Shipwrecked. I got a decent chunk into it, about 3 hours of gaming, and called it quits once I got to the part that had stealth and FNAF jump scares. Bye-bye. The true final game that doesn't exist. The one this has all been building up to. The one that completely and utterly outclasses and shits on everything before it. The one I am the most excited to discuss. The Fantastic Adventures of Sexstick. This one is a joke series, which takes the form of OST uploads and small gameplay snippets. Every upload in this series is one of those, how am I not going to click on this with a title like that videos. One of them was even a mock old school game review, which is actually pretty cool.
And here's Max with the scoop.
One of the most technically advanced video games of our lifetime is early in its development.
The person behind these, Jada Peta, seems to kind of specialize in weird old school 3D animations like these. And the Fantastic Adventure series isn't even the only fake game on the channel. Most of them are just one and done short animations though, not massive series with big plots or anything. Apparently, the biggest video in the Fantastic Adventure series was of such high quality and so believable that it was removed by YouTube themselves for deceptive practices. It was literally just a song, by the way, and quite a good one. Before we get into the big finale, I just want to say that again, this was not a comprehensive, super duper deep dive on every single fake game project ever created. There were plenty of very high quality ones I didn't talk about, such as Via Verde and Diminish, most of which either didn't have playable games or were other fake lost games like Shipwrecked 64. Also plenty I just didn't watch or hear about. Another one which got recommended a fair bit was God Husk, which is like a strategy guide for a game that doesn't exist. Sounds cool, but not really what this video is about. If I covered every fake game-related project out there, whether it had a game or not, this video would be like 13 hours long. I never realized just how much of a trendsetter Kekcroc was. It's a weird thing to save until the very end of a 2-part project, I know, but I would like to go over some of the reasons why I like these so much. To start things off, I have to shout out how much effort and work goes into making these projects feel real. To the point where, at the back of your mind, you kinda start to believe it. That sort of whimsical wonder hasn't really been a thing on the internet in a long-ass time. Everyone is so used to creepypastas, ARGs, and even AI now that they've become completely desensitized to anything weird passing itself off as real online. With some of these projects, I've seen firsthand in the comment sections people genuinely believing that what they're watching is real gameplay of an old, lost game from the 90s. You don't see that kind of thing too often nowadays outside of like little kids on TikTok. I think this believability is at least partially aided by the fact that these projects typically don't fall into the trap of letting your inspirations just become your project, which a fair amount of analog horror videos and indie games tend to do. There really weren't many here where I was going, I've seen this before, or this is just a shittier version of whatever. Almost every series I watched did its own thing, and managed to push the genre forward in its own way. Not all of them were massive pushes, but almost everything did something new or innovative. Adding on to this, and it's a little gatekeepy, but whatever, the barrier to entry here is much higher than shit like analog horror. With that, you make a couple drawings or photoshops, or get some footage at night, slap a VHS filter on it, and you're done. That's it. Here, you need to either know how to develop real games, or how to imitate the look of real games, to a point where it might as well be the real thing. That's on top of writing them, editing them, making them scary, and selling them as a real thing. To be a fake game creator, you need a very wide skill set, and lacking in any one area could severely hurt your project. Outside of GEB, there were multiple other project leads I saw who have taken breaks in order to focus on increasing their production skills. All of this is to say that this genre will almost never become as stale and overdone as something like analog horror. I've also got to mention that it's not impossible for people to break into the genre even at a young age and without a ton of experience. I'm fairly certain that Shipwrecked 64's creator was only a teenager when they made the game, and a few other projects I watched were done by people in a similar age range and were still really well done. Another thing I enjoy about these is that a lot of them follow almost a sort of dream logic and are very dreamlike in general. This doesn't go for all of them, but a bunch of these projects feel like people's dreams of games being projected in video form. They don't actually function or play like a real game would, with some only having a couple minutes of gameplay before getting into nightmare territory with all kinds of weird, freaky shit happening. And then like one episode later, things will just sort of reset back to normal, like nothing happened. A lot of these games also line up with or are directly interacting with the protagonist's real life, usually in ways that make no logical sense. Due to their nature as videos, these projects are able to break any and all rules that a normal game would have. You occasionally see indie games doing wacky shit, like having to go into the files to progress, but you are never going to see a game play out your real-life memories in real time. That's the magic of fake game projects. They can do almost anything. As one final thing here to wrap it up, I really enjoy the projects with tons of depth and layers to them. Not all of them are like this, and that's fine, they don't have to be. But ones like Kekcroc, GEB, Diminish, which I didn't talk about, and Laceygames had so much going on, both in real life and in-game. You could be the world's greatest video game hater of all time, and still walk away from a series like Kekcroc having enjoyed parts of its narrative and deeper themes. Some of these series have a lot of shit to say beyond, check out this game I found from 1998. Uh-oh, it's actually scary. I know it might sound stupid to say, I enjoy when a story has themes and isn't just surface level scares, but with how much schlock garbage, spooky content there is on YouTube, that's way above what's expected. But with all that crap out of the way, I am completely burnt out on games that don't exist and will not be coming back to these. At least not for quite a while. Don't ever expect a part 3 to this. Ever. At the absolute most, I might look at 1 or 2 of these kinds of projects individually. We're going back to real games that do exist after this, and frankly, I can't wait to return. Thanks for sticking around, and have a great day.